international organizations that arise out of a particular liberal era that believe was quite optimistic about the capacities of states to get together and agree things like health regimes. But in the middle of my life, I spent 17 years. My daughter was born in India. So many of my friends are in India. And I wrote a big book about Delhi. The system of nations that has been relatively stable over the last 6, 7, 8 decades, since the end of the Second World War, is starting to change, partly because the United States is no longer acting as a guarantor of the system. Hi, I'm Rana Dasgupta at the Kerala Literature Festival with Apostrophes.
Mr. Rana, I read somewhere that you mentioned that Trump is only a symptom. Actually, why Trump is only a symptom?
I think that the world is going through a great transition, and it's a vast transition like the end of feudalism or another of these big moments in history where everything changes. And in those moments, individual people only play a small role. There are people like Trump who might accelerate some of the changes that are happening, but those changes didn't start with him and they won't end with him. So I think we're at a moment in the history of the world when the system of nations that has been relatively stable over the last 6, 7, 8 decades, since the end of the Second World War, is starting to change, partly because the United States is no longer acting as a guarantor of the system. And this is going to mean that we're going to have a few states that are going to be more powerful, more imperial at one extreme, and at the other extreme, some states that might almost disappear or lose their sovereignty altogether as powerful states compete for their labor, resources, etc. So this is all very disorienting, and we project a lot of this disorientation onto the person of Donald Trump because he's the most dynamic figure in all this. But I think that even when Trump has disappeared, we are still going to be in a very disorienting period of history, which is more anxious and more full of conflict than what we've known in the past few decades.
Actually, all this, history has a lot to do with wealth.
A lot to do with?
Wealth.
Yeah.
Wealth and resources. When British were ruling India, the main problem was about the wealth of India. When a Venezuelan president is hijacked, the main focus is on oil. Every time history has directly connected with wealth of the nation included. So, how it will rewrite the modern world? America has withdrawn from WHO. It will affect the work of WHO because of the funds and all. And when the Greenland security it's being questioned even right now. Even Trump says that there is an agreement between him and NATO that has not agreed to that. So issue, the tension, the pressure, it's there. In Iran, we are all worried about if West Asia is going to see another military action or something. So how it is going to redesign the world? What do you think?
One thing that's quite clear is that liberalism as a platform for international conversation and agreement is fading. So you mentioned the WHO. These are the big international organizations that arise out of a particular liberal era that believe was quite optimistic about the capacities of states to get together and agree things like health regimes, like nuclear regimes, like economic treaties, standard protocols for telecommunications and shipping and all kinds of things. And some of the greatest moral achievements of the nation-state system have arisen from that kind of liberal optimism. one of them is the WHO, the eradication of many diseases by the state system, by an assembly of states. And many states, it's not just the US, though the US is the most powerful, are now attacking a lot of those international institutions. They are convincing their populations that they should compete with and not agree with other nations. And so we're entering into a very anxious period where it's less and less easy for states to get together and agree big things, especially about things like climate change, which has major implications for their own economies. And in all these ways, I think it's less and less easy for us to trust states to solve the big problems of the world. And I think in the coming era, we might have to think of other kinds of forms of organization to solve problems like climate change or poverty, etc.
Again, coming back to you, a personal question. You are an Indian origin British author. Except your name, how much related you are with India? Have you been here for so many times? Do you visit India often?
I moved to India when I was 29 years old, and I lived here until I was 47 years old. So for 17 years, I lived in Delhi. All my childhood, I've been coming to India. But in the middle of my life, I spent 17 years. My daughter was born in India. So many of my friends are in India. And I wrote a big book about Delhi. The record of my experiences in India. So India is at the center of my life. Though I was born in the UK, I've lived in the US, and I now live in France. But India is always a reference.
Okay. Have you visited Kerala before?
I have once flown out of Kochi airport. Apart from that, I haven't been to this part of the country at all, no.
Do you plan to roam around Calicut and to see Kerala more? Any plans?
Not on this occasion. I have to go to the Calcutta Festival, so it's going to be very brief. But I do love this part of the country. I want to come back.
That's nice. And talking about your UK, US and France life, you see, France, America, France has been a cultural capital for many aspirants around the world, including Indians. And America was always a dreamland. UK is always a dreamland. But the latest immigrant policies and all are affecting the dreams of many, including Indians. So the immigrant policies, nations reluctant to welcome persons from other countries. Will it continue like this, or is there any ray of hope that these big walls that Trump and other countries are making around their country, will it stay forever, or will there be a change?
I think it's going to get more conflicted because I think in the future we're going to have bigger problems of migration. Climate change is leading to a lot of changes in the global countryside. And something like 2 billion people live in the global countryside. So if those people start to move in order to try and improve their lives or to get away from the land where they can no longer farm, then destination countries are going to put up more barriers. And there's going to be more conflict over movement of human beings and all those sorts of things. Personally, I think this is one of the biggest problems that we have to solve. We can't just constantly claim that migration is some sort of exceptional crisis. Human beings have always moved across history, and we have to make room for people to move and everything. But I think in the near term, countries that are still trying to hold on to some wealth and exceptional order are going to continue putting up more barriers.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr.
Okay, that's it.